Hello, and welcome to today's Mindset Podcast. I'm joined by Lisa Binggeli, CEO of Agent Leader. Lisa, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So Lisa, I'm really excited about this. You and I have spent quite a lot of time working with one another since you've become a team lead here at SetSchedule. Why don't you give everybody a little bit of your background, who you are, kind of how you got into the business, and what Agent Leader does?
Okay. So I am born and raised in Idaho. I've held my real estate license for 7 years. And the way that I transitioned into real estate was I was actually just a mom. I was a stay-at-home mom, worked from home, did some medical billing, always did something, like to keep busy. But really, I have a big love of the market. I love to watch the market. I love what goes on, watching the ups, downs, really I love the numbers part of things, but then I also love service. So when my kids all went off to school, that was kind of the path that I took, because it was a field of work that I could be in where I could do the numbers part that I loved, but also it's 50% of that and it's 50% service. And so that's one of the things I love about it. As I had my license for a couple years, I just grew exponentially, just so fast that I ended up needing to hire more agents to help service more people, which then led me to my broker's license and building a team of agents out in my area. From there, the progression kind of happened that I did so well teaching those agents, and then they were just getting off the ground and being successful so quickly, as opposed to so many agents that struggle. They don't have the guidance, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have all that information that they need to actually make a living in this job, because it's not as easy as what it looks like, or as easy as people think it's going to be when they get into it. It's definitely a misconception. So my heart kind of went out to those people that just struggle, but it's not because they don't have the potential, it's because they don't have the tools and the information that they need to be successful. And so as I did that with my own agents, I decided to create and start Agent Leader, which is a coaching program for people all over the United States, agents at whatever level and year they are in their licensing, new or 10 years or however, that need that support and the guidance and the information and that, the teaching and the mentoring, and really the nuts and bolts too of how the entire process works and how to navigate transactions. It's everything.
It's not an easy process.
It's not an easy process, and you can make it easy. I mean, I can do it in my sleep now. I can do it standing in Disney World. I've done it in all sorts of places, still selling properties, while multitasking on vacations or family events. So yeah, teaching them how to actually not just to do the job, but to do it very efficiently and effectively, and create a customer base different than what most agents do. So in real estate, what I notice and what I see with most agents is that they will service a client, right? They'll do a transaction, and then it's kind of by the wayside and they just move on with their life.
Right.
And that's, the referral and repeat business rate for real estate agents is like 30%. And I'm like, so where did the other 70% of your clients go that are selling, right? They should be coming back to you or referring.
Right.
And it's such a low rate. Well, I have like a 95% referral and repeat business rate, which is a different business model to where I'm teaching people how to actually create a substantial business, just like a doctor or a dentist would, right? You're going to have actual clientele.
As an entrepreneur, yeah.
As an entrepreneur. So you're actually establishing that. So it's looking at it from a different perspective. So that's kind of what I've jumped into teaching my agents.
Yeah. I love that, because we talk about the solopreneur all the time, right? As a real estate agent, you are the CEO of your own business. If you don't get up in the morning, you don't go out, nobody's going to come to you signing a listing agreement or a buyer's agreement, right? Unless you put yourself out there. So what do you think is the differentiating factor from a real estate agent who, mindset wise, who acts as a solopreneur versus that who's just kind of doing it just because they think, their friend who made a $50,000 check, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it kind of mindset?
Yeah, so you said it right there. It's my friend made a $50,000 check and that's what I want. And if that's their driving force behind what they want, then that's that one and done. That's that. I'm going to go get my check and I'm going to move on. And it's that place, I feel like, of scarcity, not of abundance, that they're looking at the business.
I like that.
So that's, yeah.
So how do you take someone who has that mindset of, one and done, and kind of coach them into, nurturing long-term and having a 95% return rate?
So some of that is self-discovery. So in the methods of coaching that I use, it allows for a lot of self-discovery for the agents to realize some of these things themselves, but also the fact that I'm not just a coach that's coaching just because I like to coach. It's because I'm an agent that is still, to this day, agent and broker, selling like $25+ million in real estate every year.
That's awesome.
So in addition to the coaching part. So the really cool thing is I go out and I have experiences, and I can bring those experiences back, and I can train on those and prepare agents to then go out and have it, the same experiences, or to be prepared when they have them to be successful in that experience. So the same goes for kind of changing their mindset. If they have that scarcity mindset and they just think, the one and done is what I always call it. That there's more to it than that, and providing some evidence for them, because our brains like evidence-based.
Show me that it works and I'll follow through with it.
Works and I'll do it, right? But if they don't know that it works, then they have a lot of doubt around it.
Right.
So as they then start to experiment on that, they start to find that success, and then it quickly sets in, and they start to adopt that newer mindset of and way of doing business.
That's interesting. Talking about, a lot of real estate agents who get into the business who don't quite understand, the marketing that they're going to have to do and the level of engagement they're going to have with home, with the opportunities that they take on and their leads. How do you break that mold? How do you get someone to stop that one and done? Like, I'm going to reach out once or twice or 3 times throughout a 1 month period, and if I don't get a hold of them, I'm going to go find my next shiny toy. How do you break that?
Right. So part of it's tools.
Okay.
It's tools that they can use so that they are being efficient with their time.
Okay.
That's important, because it can be overwhelming, the thought of, you get all these contacts, you have these leads come in, and then trying to it's the consistency, right?
Yes.
And consistently following up with them, and how is it that they actually can do that? And then they usually will fizzle out because they get overwhelmed, and they don't know what to do or where to go, and so they're pretty inefficient with their
Right.
follow-up system. So that's huge. So providing some other ideas and tools for them with their follow-up and the process. And the very fun thing is, most of it's free,
Okay. Right.
except for a contact management system. Really, everything else is a free tool that they actually have at their hands. They just don't know how to use them, or that they should even be using them, and how life-changing it can be. I was coaching a broker the other day, and I asked her how she follows up with any of her buyers that she has. And she writes their information on a sticky note.
Oh, no.
I almost had a and then she's trying to, every single time that she looks over their sticky note, I guess, maybe send them some information. Well, that's not very consistent. It's not very consistent. And it's also not providing very good service to the client.
Right.
Right. So there's the disconnect right there. The efficiency is not just because it's good for our time as agents to be more efficient. It's because we need to be efficient, so we're providing the best service to the client that we possibly can.
Absolutely.
Then they will stay with us. Then our retention becomes better. Then our conversion becomes better.
So why do you think that is? Why is it so difficult for agents to kind of break out of that old school pen and paper mode and find tools and find, systems that they can implement into their business to become more efficient?
I think it's been done ineffectively for a very long time, and it's not taught differently. I think that there's so much pressure and teaching on the sales part of things, how to sell, right? How to find the clients, but there's not enough being taught on what to do with them when you find them.
Ah.
There's the missing piece. So we focus on the paycheck, we focus on the lead sources, but what happens in the spectrum between those two things?
Quite a lot.
There's a whole heck of a lot that goes on.
Right.
And that's really what I teach. I mean, I teach the other two things as well, but there's so much that happens in between that is not being taught, or agents that have taught new agents have bad habits.
Right.
They themselves haven't adopted new habits, and they're passing it on to the new people coming into the business.
Right.
There's some disconnect there.
So how does agent leader bridge that gap?
So everything in between those two spots, that's what I'm teaching. That is the tools, the conversations that aren't had, that I'm teaching them. And again, I think the reason why I'm qualified to be able to do that is because that's what I do all day long. That's what I've done for 100 plus transactions a year for the last 7 years.
That's awesome.
So because I've been in the trenches and had that concentrated amount of transactions, there's so much information and knowledge that I can impart to them. The other reason is that it's not taught, honestly, is because why would you want to teach your competition what your secrets are?
Fair enough.
So we teach them enough to be dangerous, and then we say, here you go, figure it out, right? Everything in between those two things, from getting your leads to the paycheck, you go figure that out, because if I tell you how good I can do it, you're going to be competition for me, and I don't want to do that.
Fair point.
That's probably the number one comment that I get from agents when they say, well, I have a mentor and I pay my mentor, but they're not really learning anything from the mentor, because the mentor, if they're too good, they can feel threatened by them. So it's we want to help you, but we don't want to help you too much, right?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. It's to an extent, but obviously as a team lead, it's your responsibility to kind of help mentor your team and get them to the goals and the aspirations that they have, right? So as far as guerrilla marketing and cold generation, because everybody who starts into the business has their sphere of influence, they could reach out to that, and they generally do fairly well with those, right? When and where do you start to find, or have to force yourself to find, other lead generation where you can start to fill your pipeline and your funnel? How do you advise your team to go out there and find new ways of filling their pipeline?
So there are different types. I think being able to identify the different types of leads is really important, because most agents will just put leads in one bucket.
That's an interesting idea. It's just the sphere of influence. I'm going to work them all the same way. I work it regardless of the type. So what are some of the different types of leads that you would train on?
So you've got 3 buckets. We have 3. It's very simple. We have 3 types of leads. Okay. We have our buyer lead that's ready to do something. We have our seller lead, right? And then we have our online or colder leads. We have the colder leads. So those cold leads that come in, that's where people think that they're just like your regular buyer and seller. And when I say buyer and seller, I mean the buyer that calls me specifically, right? They call me, or they call me off my listing, and they're ready to do something. And so then you're like off to the races with them. Right. Or your seller that's, come to a listing appointment and talk to me about selling my house. Like, that's something that you can take action on right now. Right. So those are in 2 different buckets. The third bucket it's our cold traffic. It's those people that don't really know us, don't know what we can do for them. And that's something that we have to actually teach them or provide that information to them, right? Right. And they aren't going to believe us the first time. So we have to continue to follow up and prove ourselves, because they haven't necessarily seen our name around, or they don't know about us as an agent. Right. And so it's that cold traffic that comes in. There's still people that need help. That's the one thing that people have to realize, is that colder traffic, they reached out at some point somewhere on some platform because they were looking for something. Yep. Right? Yep. Somewhere, something, somehow. Somewhere, something, somehow. Right. And your job as an agent then is to find how to help them. So if it takes calling them multiple times, sending, getting them set up. I always suggest on a drip system so that they're receiving emails and text messages to warm them up.
Right.
For them to be able to feel comfortable responding to you. Then at that point, then you can be able to, you're fostering that relationship. So you're dating. You got to date for a whole lot longer with the online leads than you do with just your standard buyer or seller that call you very directly. Mm-hmm. It's a different game. And agents, if you don't pay attention to that, or you don't know that, if you're not taught that, you get discouraged really fast.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, this buyer, I got this lead, and they, supposedly they're a buyer, but they're not answering my call, and they didn't answer my text message, and what the heck, right? So now they're just trash. And then you put them in the trash bucket.
Yep. And
there's not a trash bucket. They wanted something at some point, somehow. So yeah, don't call them every single day of your life, but maybe put them on a follow-up drip buyer email system or a seller, right, campaign, so that they're being nurtured until they're ready to actually pull a trigger and do something.
So it seems like there's a little bit of a fine line between calling every day or calling once a week versus putting them in a drip campaign. How do you kind of gauge how often you reach out versus, hey, you know what, I've spent X amount of time with this, this prospect. Let me just put them in a drip campaign, and when they're ready, they'll reach out to me.
So the process that we usually take is they actually go directly into the drip campaign. We zap them into the drip campaign so that process can already start. Plus that.
Sorry, for those of you who don't know what Zap is Zapier is a third-party integration that allows two softwares to sync together. So in your case, you're saying is between your CRM system and the drip campaign, you have a Zap that automatically takes it and just flushes it through and just starts sending emails and text messages. Is that what you're referring to? Okay.
Yep. Which takes away, right? We're trying to be efficient.
All that manual labor that we have to do ourselves. Exactly.
So we're working on the efficiency part and to not be frustrated, right? And so that's one of those really cool tools that came to light that can help us to not be frustrated. So that text and email campaign that you've pre-set up can already start doing its job. And then you just have to worry about making the phone call.
Awesome.
Which the phone call is the most important part, because it's that human connection. It's that personal touch that we need to have. So one of the things that I see go wrong is when agents don't make the phone call, they try to just put their lead into their drip system and figure, right, that the text and the emails are going to do the job for them.
They're not.
They're not. Yeah. So you're missing the most important piece, which is the human connection portion, which is the phone call. Yeah. So if they choose not to answer, right, we'll usually call 3 times, 2 times in a row. And then if they don't answer, wait a little bit longer, call a 3rd time later in the day. And then if they don't answer, you can check in with them the next day. And if they don't answer, you could call them, a couple days later. If you're not getting a response, great. Now you have that backup system of your drip campaign that's going and your text message campaign that's going.
Right.
So you've got that, and then you don't have to be so frustrated that they didn't answer my phone call. Well, maybe they're not ready. Maybe they're stressed out. Maybe they've never done it before. Maybe they don't know what questions to ask. Maybe they feel stupid. You just don't know what their thoughts are on their end. So don't predetermine that just because they didn't answer your phone call that they're not interested.
That's an interesting concept. I don't think enough, I don't even say real estate agents, but enough sales reps in general who are in this business understand the reason you get so discouraged is because of that frustration factor. It is because you feel like you're putting so much of your time, effort, and energy and not getting the results back. So it's interesting to hear you talk about how much you leverage tool and technology to kind of take away that frustration factor and help you be much more efficient with your outreach and your marketing. So I really like that aspect of it.
Thanks.
So one concept that we haven't spoken about is this, you being as self-driven as you are. And I know that I get texts from you on weekends and I get texts from you at night. How important is it for us to be kind of, not I want to say working 24 hours a day, but be aware of all the opportunities that are surrounding us at all times?
So there's definitely a balance that agents have to find in responsiveness and making sure that you're not going to drive yourself crazy working too much.
Okay.
So that's definitely going to be a personal choice. However, I do think it comes a little bit with the territory with this job, is that sometimes a 7 o'clock phone call has to happen, or sometimes a Saturday appointment has to happen. Like it is part of our job, unless you want to go sit at a desk in a sales office selling
9 to
model
5.
homes,
Right.
right? 9 to 5, where then you don't have that flexibility. Reframing how you think about it, because I can take 3 hours off during the day and go do something with my child, but then I'm going to be working from 7 to 9 o'clock at night, maybe. Like
Right.
it's all relative. The self-driven part, can you teach that? I think everyone has it in them. They just haven't necessarily identified it. And that's one thing an agent, I mean, it's the first thing I teach, is you have to identify, why are you doing this job? Because
Absolutely.
when it gets hard, when people don't answer the phone, when you start to get frustrated, when things go south, when you get rejected, whatever it is, like, you better have a reason why you like to do this other than a paycheck, because sometimes you don't get the paycheck.
Yep. So what's your reason then, Lisa?
I find a ton of joy in helping people. So my focus is on the people, and the byproduct of that is the paycheck. And it's a little bit different. I teach all my agents the exact same thing. It's like, if you focus on the paycheck, which is going to come if you do your job, if you do everything else anyway, that's going to be the byproduct of your work, right?
Right.
But if you focus on the paycheck and then you become a little bit pushy. Your attitude can change, and the client feels that.
Yeah,
and
they feed off of that.
Yeah, and if the client feels like a paycheck, which a lot of time they do, that's why a lot of them hate realtors, because they think they just show up, they throw a sign in the yard, they collect a really giant paycheck, they go home.
Yeah.
So if they're not feeling like you're taking care of them, if there's not that personal connection, your referral and repeat business rate of building your business is going to stink. Like you're not going to receive, that person's not going to refer you.
Right.
That person's not going to want to use you again, because they didn't see or feel like they were being taken care of. And they really just want to be taken care of. I teach my agents, it's like a Snuggie. Gotta love the Snuggies, right? The weirdest blanket coat situation going on. But it's comfortable, it's warm, you wear it, right? And you feel comfortable. And my daughter had one, and that's kind of what brought the topic up. She's like, this is so awesome, so comfortable. I'm like, that is the dorkiest looking thing I've ever seen. But she loved it. She felt so comfortable. We have got to make our clients feel comfortable and loved and warm. We're all people. We all have feelings. We aren't just a transaction. Like, they're not just a transaction. This is the largest purchase that most every person will make in their life. So if we can't treat that with some respect and take care of them like we would a family member, right? Or a grandpa, this is somebody else's grandpa. Like, we need to take care of that person as we would take care of our own family.
Yep.
The byproduct of that is they love you. They feel that they love you. You make a paycheck at the end, and they will continue to come back for more, and they will send all of their friends to take care of them, because they trust you, and they know that you'll take care of their friends. They do. So I love the service aspect of it. I'm super passionate about it.
Well, I mean, I could see that. I mean, that's what I think I enjoy so much working with you. We always say it's the most emotional decision you're going to make about the biggest purchase of your life. I mean, how can you not expect, how can you as a home shopper not expect a high level of service and love and gratitude from your realtor, right? From your and I think the agents that do it best are the ones that become their prospects' friends, and not just their realtor. Showing up, knowing about birthdays and knowing about anniversaries, and all that adds a whole level of personability that I feel like most agents don't think about. So it's refreshing to see that's an aspect of something that you train with your team. So I'm a new agent. I come into the business. I see this and I go, I want to connect with Lisa. How does someone connect with you and start to get engaged with Agent Leader? And give me a little bit on that and how I can, maybe get some training from you.
So the best, well, that's the best, but the program that I provide to my agents is kind of morphed over time because I base it on what the needs of my agents are, right, that are in the program. So where we've come to is I've got a 12 module training program. It's a recorded program. It's 24 classes at your own pace, everything. I sat down and I put down everything that I do in my own business that I did to get to where I am in my business, how I built it, what I say to buyers, what I say to sellers, how do I convert them, just every little piece of the puzzle. It was a lot of brain power, so much brain power. So in recorded classes, just like we're talking now, right? I mean, I just kind of feed it to you straight. So there's that portion. But what I recognized was sometimes it's not just the information. Sometimes we also need the motivation or the support. And that's a piece that the agents were missing. So I coach my agents once a week. We have every single Wednesday, 10 o'clock Mountain Time. We are on a call for an hour to an hour and a half. And I coach my agents on a new topic every single week. And we do Q&A and it's awesome. Great group of people. But then I'm like, man, but there's got to be more, right? Because the other thing that agents struggle with is leads.
Right.
That's the other part. It's like, okay, how can I provide leads to my agents? And that's where SetSchedule came in, which was really awesome. So that allowed me to, no matter my first question when I talked to SetSchedule, where do my agents have to be located? Because I didn't need leads for my agents that were local, right? In my town, right? That I've got in my brokerage here. I'm talking, we're spreading out throughout the United States. How can I help them? And SetSchedule's platform allowed me to, no matter where my agents lived, be able to receive leads underneath me as my team. And that was huge because now we take that and we are like practicing in real time because they are getting the leads and I'm coaching them on those leads. So we're coaching through the frustrations, we're coaching through the systems, the practices, how it is that we set it all up. And then when they get to a spot, we just had one under contract. It's a divorced couple. It was a hot mess. It was really frustrating. The agent can call me and I'm coaching her through. She's like, okay, I got to this point. This is what I think I should do. What do I do? And I can coach her through so she can make it successfully to the closing table.
That's awesome.
And then she does. So it's training them and giving them it's like a practice patient. Really, I mean, for me, I'm able to provide them with those leads through SetSchedule, and then they can practice and they can learn and they can get better. And it's awesome. It's an awesome. So that's kind of rounded out. I feel like 100% rounded out my program for my agents because it's every part and piece that they need to get out and start making money. And that's what I need them to do. I need them to get out and start making money.
And in return, their success becomes your success.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we all win. It's a win all the way around.
Yeah.
And it's just very, why do I do it? Because I love watching other people be successful. I love teaching. I love it. I absolutely love it. But I love that self-discovery that they can have when they start to really catch on and get their paychecks and make that, convert those buyers and those sellers. And we have a whole group and they'll go in and celebrate each other and they celebrate their successes. And it's just, and we all need that. We all want to be celebrated. I mean, we all
absolutely
need the kudos, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for someone who's, been in the business and is like, look, I want to start my own team. Maybe I want to start kind of getting into a little bit of a coaching themselves. How do you kind of formulate a game plan to go from being just, I don't want to say just an agent, but being from your agent under a brokerage to maybe your own broker, or again, starting to build a team under you? What advice can you give someone?
Oh, that's a big question. If someone wants to start a team, the number one thing is they're going to have to be interested in investing in their team members.
Ah, that's interesting.
So just like with our clients, if we only focus on the paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
then you're missing the whole other, right? The whole other part of,
Mm-hmm.
of what's actually satisfying and helps you get to that paycheck. With people I've seen, they start teams and they look at the paycheck of what the team members can bring in, but they're forgetting that support that they need to provide to their team members.
Right.
So if there's anybody else out there that starts a team and they've got, a set schedule team and they've got their agents on it and it's great, but it's not just a set it and forget it. It's not a
Right.
here, I just gave this to you. Now you figure it out and you just be great at it. And if you're not great, I'm going to kick you to the curb or don't care if you fall off. And then you have to go find more, right? That's probably one of the biggest things is if you treat them right and you teach them right. So if you draw up a really good team, they don't leave you. You don't have to keep finding new agents. I mean, unless you want to continue to grow, right? Of course,
Right.
You're going to find new agents if you want to grow. But, if you add 5 and take away 3 because you weren't good at supporting them or teaching them and they fell away, you're just wasting so much time trying to find more agents to join your team. And then you're going to gain 5 and lose 2, gain 6 and lose 3. Like the loss part is such a waste of time that put more effort in at the beginning because then you don't have the losses. Like nobody leaves. Nobody leaves my team. Nobody leaves my brokerage. They're enticed to leave my brokerage all the time.
Well, the grass is always greener on the other side, right?
But not for my agents because they're like, no way. Like, because what they have is phenomenal and they know it. They feel it, they know it, they have the support that they need. So then more people want to come join you because of the type of service that you're providing to your own agents. So service for your agents is just as important as service for your clients. But if you're just doing it for the money, you're going to be in a really fun world of hurt and frustration.
I understand. I hear that. So I got to ask this. What has your experience been like with SetSchedule? I mean, is this something that you would recommend for, team leads maybe who are getting out there? And how is that translated to the success for your team?
So it's a great tool for team leads. It's a really great tool for team leads because it provides opportunities, again, right, for their agents to be able to have business.
And that's step one, right? That's step one.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Amazing tool for that. Some of the frustrations that you can have and that we had to work through because like I actually did not work with cold leads. That was not in my wheelhouse.
Right.
And so cold leads was a new thing for me to learn how to navigate as well as then teaching it to my agents at the same time. So one thing that was frustrating was just like the buckets that I talked about, they were in a different bucket and I did not realize that it was a different category of client than the clients I was used to dealing with.
Okay.
So knowing that going in is going to save somebody else some time. So you're welcome, right, for that.
You did all the hard labor on that side.
I did all the hard labor. Yep. Listen to what I said, I promise. But yeah, so that was frustrating for me. But it was because I didn't know what it was. I just went in a little bit blind. Really, that's probably the biggest frustration. The positive side of things is once you figure out how to use it, how to work it, there's always a way. There's always a way to harness the information, the data, the people, right? There's always a way to do it. You just have to find the way that it works. Find the way to do it. And then you will find the success. And in the world of shiny things, that are, the instant gratification and the things that's just going to work right now. It's going to be so easy. And here's this, and it's supposed to be, it is harder work.
Right.
I would say it is a little bit harder work, but if you put those 6 systems into place, then it takes away some of that harder part of it, automates a little bit of it, and makes it less frustrating. And it's very fluid. When you get to that point, it's a very fluid process. And it becomes, phenomenal and a great benefit to your team. So it's a very cool, it's an asset, really. I mean, I call it an asset to my team for sure.
Awesome. So we're kind of wrapping things up here. I know we only have so much time with you. You're extremely busy, and I appreciate all the time you've given us for this conversation. And hopefully we'll have a few more of these. If an agent wants to get in touch with you and maybe again start going through your program, what would be the best way for them to get in touch or get started?
So agentleader.com. You can find me on there. Support@agentleader.com is my email, and I respond really quickly to that. You can find me on Facebook, of course, under Agent Leader, and on Instagram at agentleader_Lisa B. So yeah, reach out, send me a message. I love to help people for sure.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, again, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, those that are going to listen to this are going to heed your advice and put in the time that it takes to be as successful as you are. And again, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, always a pleasure. We'll chat soon, I'm sure.
All right. Bye.
Bye.